What's the matter?
Taylor said she'd be here.
Don't worry about Taylor. We've got our biggest battle ahead of us today. You know, Chambers would only tell the truth. This trial will be over. There's no chance of that.
How are you, Mr. Chambers?
I'm fine.
You're under oath.
Well, I guess I'm a little nervous.
Well, don't be. Just tell us the truth.
Right.
We're late.
We'll have to wait for a recess.
No, Thorne, I want to be in there. This is the most important testimony of the entire trial. Now, Rich needs
You
us.
can't just walk in.
I can.
Are you throwing me out? I'm asking you to leave, but if you don't, yes, I will throw you out.
Have you discussed this with James?
Don't play that, Sheila.
James would never tolerate the mother of his child being out on the street.
You're not
Maggie.
going to be out on the street. You can go live with your mother. You can find your own place. You're not destitute.
Look at me. I'm 7 months pregnant. This is no time for me to be moving.
Fine, I'll help you. I'll pack your bags. I'll carry them to the car. I'll even drive you to your new location. But this is it, Sheila. This ends right here. You are no longer a guest in this house.
James,
Is this a bad time?
not at all. Come on in. A nice surprise.
How are things going over here?
Well, it's not the best of times.
I feel badly for the family.
Yes, so do I.
Well, it is Ridge's trial that you're referring to, isn't it?
It's dismal for a number of reasons, but I don't want to get into that. Come on, sit down. What brings you by?
Well, it's not exactly a social call, I can tell you that much.
It's professional? I need a good therapist.
So do I.
You do?
More specifically, I need a specialist.
What kind?
A Sheila specialist.
Oh, well, then you have definitely come to the right place. Actually, I've been thinking about you and worrying about you.
You don't need to worry about me.
Really? You have the angel of death living underneath your roof, and she's pregnant with your child, no less, and your friends are not supposed to worry about you? I hear she's even dragging you to childbirth class.
She is not dragging me anywhere.
She's not?
That's what I need to talk to you about. Now, nobody knows Sheila better than you and I, but we both happen to see her differently. Now, can I change your mind about her?
Maybe I need to change your mind about her.
Mr. Chambers, what is your current position at Forrester Creations?
Chief Executive Officer.
And how did you get hired to that position?
Well, actually, I wasn't hired. It's a contractual agreement approved by the stockholders of the company.
Come on, that's...
But in all fairness, a majority of that stock is held by one person. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that person is your wife, Brooke Chambers.
Yes, that's right. But she requested and approved that promotion as CEO.
Oh, come on. She didn't request it. He forced it on her.
Did any of the other stockholders approve your promotion?
No, they all are opposed to it. Violently.
Objection, Your Honor.
Strike the term violently. Let's have quiet in here.
Is Rich Forrester a stockholder of Forrester Creations?
Yes, he and his family own 49%, and my wife and I own the rest.
So Ridge was one of those opposed to your promotion to CEO, is that right?
That's right.
Calling your attention to last year, before you became CEO, did something unusual happen in respect to your job at Forrester Creations?
Yes, Ridge fired me.
And was the reason for your firing related to your job performance?
No.
What were the reasons Ridge gave you?
He said that I used my position to stab him in the back.
I have here the contents of Forrester Creations' employee file for Grant Chambers. People's Exhibit number 14 for identification. Reading from your file, Mr. Chambers, tell us the reasons Ridge gave for terminating you.
There are no reasons.
So he fired you without putting it on record as to why. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chambers, when you were fired, were you married to Brooke?
No.
Did you know her?
Yes, I did.
When did you first meet her?
Several months prior to being fired.
And when did you marry her?
January of this year.
At the time that you first met Brooke, was she involved with anyone romantically?
Objection.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Yeah, she was involved with Ridge. They were dating, I guess practically engaged.
Your Honor.
Miss Emerson, you can't ask the witness about Ridge Forrester's personal feelings towards Brooke. You realize that?
Yes, Your Honor, I do, but with all due respect, the defendant's feelings toward Brooke have been widely published in the media. I literally have reams of newspaper and magazine articles, audio and videotapes, and I can submit them all for exhibit. In fact, I will. Your Honor, I would like to submit People's Group Exhibit number 15 for identification. These are all interviews in which Ridge refers to his personal relationship with Brooke.
Your Honor, this is outrageous. What is the relevance of all this?
Miss Emerson, what is the relevance?
The relevance is motive, Your Honor, motive.
Motive? Are you trying to tell this jury that my...
Enough, Mr. Young. The tapes of Ridge Forrester, I will admit, but not the printed material. Proceed, Miss Emerson.
Mr. Chambers, when you first met Brooke, she was involved with Ridge. And over the ensuing months, she became obviously involved with you, at least enough to marry you. Is that right?
That's right.
And during that time, you were fired by Ridge from your job without reason, at least not one that he put in writing. Is that also correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chambers, what was your understanding of why you were terminated?
Jealousy. It was blatant jealousy.
That is a lie. He's lying to this jury now.
Mr. Forrester, sit down. Quiet, please. Let's have it quiet now.
What are you just standing there for? Go pack your bags. I'll drive you over to Molly's.
And when James comes home and finds me gone.
That's my problem, not yours.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm sorry, Maggie, but I can't do this.
You have to do it, Sheila. You don't have a choice.
Look, I know it's really difficult for you to accept this, but the situation is not the same as it was a few months ago.
And what does that mean?
There have been changes, or haven't you noticed?
In what?
In James? In me? And in all of us,
The
Maggie.
only change is that you've become more overt.
Look, that might be the way it seems. But the fact is that James and I have gotten close.
No. No, no, that is a figment of your imagination.
You are in denial, Maggie.
Look who's talking. James will never love you, Sheila. He will never love you.
Yes, and yet the closer I come to having his baby, the more interest he takes in me. Right? That's not a fantasy, Maggie. It's only natural. We're having a baby.
You are having a baby.
It is not only mine, it's his as well. He knows that. He feels it, Maggie. His instinct is to protect me, is to take care of me. And I'm sorry, I know that threatens you. But it's never what I intended. James is about to become a father. I'm going to be a mother. And that's something that we share together. And it's deep, Maggie, and it's precious. And it's something I just don't think you can accept. Look, I don't want to hurt you. But there's something I have to say. I'm not the one that ought to be leaving. You should be leaving, Maggie.
Would you do something for me, please, Lauren?
What?
For the next few minutes, can you try to think of Sheila as if you've just met her?
That's impossible.
Well, that's because you know her as an evil, conniving woman, but she was like that. I agree with you, but she's changed, believe me. I'm living with the woman. Sheila's not the woman that she was.
Well, maybe you're not the man that you were either. Maybe you're in love with her.
Well, if you mean by in love, have I grown to appreciate certain elements of Sheila? Well, yes, I have.
Well, what about your wife?
This isn't to do with Maggie. My feelings for Maggie haven't changed. They won't change.
Then you must understand what this is doing to her. Having Sheila underneath her roof?
Oh, that's because Maggie, like you, has this picture of Sheila printed in her mind, an indelible picture. It's also a very negative picture. Now, when the reality interferes with that picture, when Maggie realized that Sheila truly has a goodness, then it frightened her. It made her feel very insecure.
Well, fine. That should be reason enough for you to realize that Sheila has to go. I mean, do you really want your wife feeling insecure?
Oh, you don't deal with insecurity by catering to it, Lauren. It was Maggie's idea to invite Sheila to come live with us in the first place. Now, yes, that's when Sheila was a sick woman, certainly not somebody I thought I'd ever grow to appreciate. But now that don't you see? Sheila is in the midst of a remarkable rehabilitation. You do not take a person like that, especially a woman who is pregnant, and throw her out on her own. That is wrong. The right thing to do is to help her, and I intend to continue helping her. Not because she's carrying my child, but because it is the right thing to do.
Mr. Young, if you can't keep your client in check, I'm going to have him removed. And you, Ms. Emerson, no more theatrics. That goes for the both of you. I will not have this courtroom turned into a circus. Am I making myself clear? All right, then. Finish your questioning, Ms. Emerson.
Mr. Chambers, would I be right in describing your relationship with Ridge Forrester over the past 6 months as adversarial?
Yes, he hated me.
Why did he hate you?
Because we both were in love with the same woman, the woman I eventually married.
Is that the only reason?
No. Once I became CEO, he hated me even more.
Did he ever threaten you?
Yes, more than once.
How did you respond to these threats, Mr. Chambers? Did they concern you?
Well, you better believe they did.
Did you ever express this concern to anyone?
Yes, I spoke to the Forresters, to Dr. Taylor Hayes, to Clark Garrison, and I even expressed it to my wife.
When did you talk to all of these people?
I spoke to every one of them within a week of the day of my shooting.
Really? And what did you say to these people, Mr. Chambers?
I told them that I thought Ridge was out of control, that he was a walking time bomb ready to explode, that I was going to be the target.
And within 7 days, you were shot.
That's right.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Young?
Let's talk about your relationship with Ridge, shall we, Mr. Chambers?
It's your call, Counselor.
Now, we've heard a lot of talk about his hatred towards you. How did you feel about him?
Relevance, Your Honor.
Believe me, Your Honor, relevance will be established before I finish questioning this witness.
Proceed.
So tell us, how did you feel about Ridge?
Oh, I liked him.
You liked him?
Well, I respected and I admired him. I always considered him a great friend, and I told him that on several occasions.
When?
It was before I was fired.
And after that?
Well, I obviously didn't like him.
Because he fired you.
That's right.
But then you were rehired and promoted. You even ran the company for a couple of weeks last fall. So why did you continue disliking him, Mr. Chambers? Did it have anything to do with Brooke Logan? Answer the question. Wasn't the reason for your continued disliking of Ridge because of his involvement with Brooke?
No, mistreated her.
Then your answer is yes. Is that correct?
Well, I suppose so.
Well, how did he mistreat her?
Lack of respect. He abused her, used her. Do you want me to continue?
So she must have hated him too because of this mistreatment. Did she?
Brooke was in conflict over Ridge.
What kind of conflict?
Unresolved feelings.
She was still in love, isn't that what you mean?
Oh, I wouldn't call it love.
Oh, what would you call it?
I would call it confusion.
Confusion. Was she still confused after you two were married?
No.
Oh, so she suddenly no longer had unresolved feelings. Is that what you're telling us?
Essentially, yes.
So if I were to call Brooke to the stand, she would testify that she had unresolved feelings even after the two of you were married.
All right, so maybe it went on a little longer. I don't know exactly when her feelings changed.
I think you do. When did you first make love to your wife?
Your Honor, you're out of line, Mr. Young.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'll put it more discreetly. Answer yes or no. Did you consummate your marriage to Brooke before or after you were shot? It was after, wasn't it?
Do I have to answer this question?
Mr. Young, what are you getting at?
What I'm getting at, Your Honor, is the motive for the shooting of Grant Chambers. But not by Ridge Forrester. Rather by a man who, despite all the trappings of the good life, money, position, power, a beautiful wife, was miserable and frustrated. Because this man was married to a woman who couldn't give herself to him. And the reason she couldn't is because she loved someone else, which so consumed this man with rage that he did the only thing that he could to win his wife's love. He blackened the name and reputation of his adversary. He framed him, or tried to, for a crime he didn't commit. He tried to have him put out of the way in prison where his wife couldn't see him. And at the same time, he played the victim of a shooting. But he wasn't the victim. My client was the victim. Ridge Forrester didn't shoot Grant Chambers. Grant Chambers shot himself out of rage and jealousy. That's what I'm getting at, Your Honor.
Quiet, please. Are you finished, Counselor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Young, you can present your side of this case when you defend your client. For now, I want everything you just said stricken from the record, and the jury is instructed to disregard it. That is not evidence. That's an opinion. Any redirect, Ms. Emerson?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not leaving here. And James is very much my husband.
Maggie, isn't it obvious we share so much more than you do?
I'm not going to stand here and argue this with you. This is my home. My home. And I want you to leave my home. You are no longer a guest in this house. Now get out. Did you hear me? I said get out! I want you to go. Leave. Now. You're out of here. You're going. Come
go
on.
of
I want
me.
you to leave here.
Let go of me.
No.
What happened in your office on March 21st, Mr. Chambers?
Well, I was doing some work. I heard a noise. I looked up and I saw a gun pointing at me. And then the next thing I remember, I was on the floor being treated by the paramedics.
Was the room dark for that time of day?
Well, it was late afternoon, but there was a light on.
Could you see clearly?
Very clearly.
Did you see your assailant?
Yes, I did.
Who was it?
It was that man right there, Ridge Forrester.
The people rest, Your Honor. We have no further witnesses.